It's Friday, everybody. Hope you're doing great. Welcome to Daily News Station. Glad that you are here. Important message for us today on the power of story. Glad you are joining me here. Today it is, it's 55 degrees in the backyard in Las Vegas right now. Whether you're watching live or on the replay, we've got a message about story. Yeah, a $2 billion story, in fact, is what we're talking about today. So glad that you are jumping in here. Hey, Brian, missed you the last couple of days. Thank you for your kind post. I really appreciate it, and glad that you're here live. Thanks for watching on the replay. As you know, I hope I truly appreciate you jumping on and being a part of it. Stories are incredibly powerful, right? And that's why we're putting on the program Distinctive Story. It's coming up December the 30th. If you'd like to join me for a day where we're going to talk about what you can do to craft your story. It's going to be really hands-on, and you're going to learn the important aspects of what it takes to construct a more compelling story. You know, one of the things that strikes me is I hear so many speakers talking about the short attention span. I've even mentioned how short the attention span is, but not in the way that some speakers are. You've probably heard when people say, oh, we have a shorter attention span than goldfish. Well, that study really isn't true. And how much does a goldfish have to pay attention to anyway? But that's an example of a smidgen of research that's incorrectly reported. But we tend to blame it on the short attention spans of the listeners rather than looking in the mirror and saying, maybe our story isn't compelling enough to get their attention. In other words, I see so many people that will blame, I can't get through the clutter. I can't get my message out there. I can't. And they blame it on the short attention span of the listeners or how little money they have in marketing or all of these kinds of things. They want to blame it on that rather than say, maybe I need to make my story a little better so that people will listen. That's what Distinctive Story is all about. Don't think about the attention span. Don't think about how much money the competition has to spend to promote. Think about how you make your story better so you attract the kind of attention that you desire. That is the power of a compelling story. We're going to talk about one on Daily Distinction today. Scott, as always, great to see you, my friend. Glad that you are here. Troutdale, Oregon, you're back there. Courtesy, I never would have heard of it had you not mentioned before that you were going through there. That's great. Hey, Martin, always great to see you. Thank you for being here. I'm assuming you are in Europe and in Germany. I guess you're watching from there. So we're all over the world. What an incredible world we live in now. Isn't that right? Man, it's always great to see you. By the way, if you want to see some great content, you need to follow Martin. He's absolutely fantastic. The Valley of Silicon, Balmy 56. Yep, we're about a degree apart. Charles, great to see you. So glad as always that you are here. So I had a chance several years ago to spend some time with James Cameron. James Cameron is the writer-director of a lot of great movies. He'd done some before, but the one the really breakthrough movie for him was the original Terminator. He wrote and directed that movie. Yeah, he is the guy that came up with the line, "I'll be back," that Arnold delivered to perfection. From Terminator, then, Titanic, Avatar, he's produced some incredible movies. He is just an icon in Hollywood. So I was fortunate. I got a chance to spend a little time with him and interview him and talk with him. And I was very fortunate that we connected because when I had given the speech that Arnold Schwarzenegger had booked me for, he had mentioned that to his director, James Cameron. Well, anyway, fascinating conversation. It dwelt on the power of story to make an incredible sale. So in Hollywood, if you want the studio to invest in a movie, you go in and you do what's called a pitch. You pitch your idea, you pitch your concept, you pitch what the movie is going to be about. So James Cameron said, imagine the pitch I had to make for Titanic. Now, he said, let's face it, Terminator was a big hit, was a big success, but the budget for that was low. I go in, and here's basically the pitch. I want to make a movie where everybody knows how it's going to end. I want to make a movie that everybody knows the basic elements of the historical fact of what happened. I want to make a movie that is going to be the most expensive movie in the history of film. And I want you to give me the money for it. Oh, by the way, and there's zero chance that I'm going to be able to do a sequel. Right? I mean, Titanic 2 ain't going to happen. Would you have put $200 million in 1997 money in that? We already know the elements. We already know the historical aspect of it. We don't need anybody to inform us. Yes, the ship is going to sink. And I want you to give me more money than you've ever given any other director in the history of film to make this movie. How do you sell that? How do you sell that? How do you get $200 million on that premise? And here's how. You got to remember, it's not about the ship. The movie Titanic, the title is the name of the ship, but the movie is not about the ship. It's the story of Rose and Jack. So when he described the story of Rose and Jack, of elderly Rose standing in that incredible opening shot and the end where she puts when he describes the story of Rose and Jack, and Titanic is the set upon which it happens, the studio became willing to invest more in not the Titanic, but the story of Rose and Jack. So what does this mean to you? Well, it means that just as James Cameron did with the story of Titanic, your story can't be about your product or your service. It can't be about its, faster, cheaper, better, whatever. It's got to be about the customers who use it or the people that created it. See, I think what we ought to do when it comes, for example, with the vaccines that are out now. Now, I'm not trying to tell you what you ought to believe about the vaccine. That's not what I'm saying here. But I'm saying, wouldn't it be more interesting right now if they talked about the scientists sleeping in their lab coats on the floor, working 20-hour days? How did this happen in record time? How did it, to humanize, so it's not Pfizer or Moderna or whoever. It's not the company that created the vaccine. They need to be telling the story of the people who did it, who developed it, who have brought it to market in record time. That would be more compelling than a big pharma company doing it. No matter how big or how small your company is, you've got to tell stories about people, because the only time stories work is when they're compelling and when they're about people. So I wouldn't say to you, what is your story about? I'd first ask you, who is your story about? Because that's what will engage us, and that's what it means to you. If you'd like to learn the specific techniques that James Cameron did for Titanic, that Robert Zemeckis did for Back to the Future and Forrest Gump, that even like Wes Craven did for all the scary movies from Freddy Krueger to Friday the 13th, all the things that he was involved in. The same elements work. All you need to do is go to distinctivestory.com. Distinctivestory.com. And there you'll see how you can register for our program. It's coming up on December the 30th. We're going to take 5 hours and teach you these elements so that you'll be able to craft your compelling story in the same manner. So distinctivestory.com. Check it out. Charles, of course, the story of the man that pushed these companies to get the vaccine developed will be, unfortunately, we come in with a prejudice there, right, Charles? Hey, Kellen Ann, as always, it's great to see you. Glad that you are here. Thank you for taking time to jump on here today. So distinctivestory.com. You'll see more about what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and would love to have you sign up. Would love to have you involved with that. And, I don't know about you, but that week between Christmas and New Year is always to me, it's always a great time to learn something and to get into something that I can use in the coming year. So that's why we schedule it then. And I know you're going to enjoy it. I did the program live for a group of financial advisors, and the results that they are getting from the program is just really incredible. So Please check it out, distinctivestory.com. Oh, by the way, the other part of what this means to you, when I checked this morning, the gross receipts of Titanic are $2.25 billion. $2.25 billion. And most of that in 1997 dollars, so it'd even be more than that now. So the $200 million investment reaped a benefit of $2.25 billion. Not because they had any unique way to shoot the movie or film the movie or do anything like that. Not because necessarily the actors, I mean, we've seen those same actors in other films. They got fabulous performances, but we've seen them in other films. But the important point is this: the story was compelling. When your story becomes that compelling, it creates measurable financial results. Carlos, as always, man, it's great to see you here live. Thank you for taking time to be here today. I really appreciate it. And as we do every weekend, we'll be checking in real quick over the weekend, same time, just a weekend check-in, see how you're doing, drop an idea about the story for you. Please check out the website. If nothing else, just visit it. Take a look, see what you think about it. distinctivestory.com. And hope to see you there for the program on the 30th. Thanks for joining me outside today. I look forward to checking in with you tomorrow on the weekend edition of Daily Distinction. Have a great Friday, everybody. I'll talk to you tomorrow.